Alright, welcome to the fifth video on factoring. Today I want to talk about factoring trinomials, factor trinomials that are not perfect square trinomials. We're going to use AC method, trial and error method. This one right here. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started, and let's take a look at some examples. Now, when I factor a trinomial, I want to find two numbers that will multiply to give me the last number, this 6 here, but will also add together to give me this positive 5. So I'm going to go ahead and list the factors of this last number. So to get 6, I've got 1. Now let me use a different color here. I've got 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. Okay, so these numbers will multiply to give me 6. Which two will add to give me positive 5? Well, 1 plus 6 is 7, but 2 plus 3 is 5. So I'm going to use the 2 and the 3. So I have my two sets of parentheses, and in the first spot I know I'm going to have to use x and x, because x times x, that's the only thing that will give me x squared. And then I'm going to use positive 2, positive 3, so that's plus 2 plus 3. And when you're factoring, it doesn't matter if you use x plus 3 times x plus 2. Okay, you can put either one first. Now let's take a look at this next one. What can I multiply to give me positive 20? Well, that's going to be 1 times 20, 2 times 10, and 4 times 5. Okay, now we can see that the 4 plus 5 will give us a positive 9, but we need a negative 9. So instead of using positive 4 and positive 5, how about if we try negative 4 plus negative 5? That equals negative 9. And negative 4 times negative 5, a negative times a negative is positive, so that does give us the positive 20. So we're going to use negative 4 and negative 5. So I've got my parentheses. I've got x and x, because that gives me x times x is x squared. And then I'm going to use minus 4 minus 5. And we can see that x times x is x squared. And then if I multiply the outside, that's going to give me minus 5x. Multiply the inside, gives me minus 4x. And minus 4 plus minus 5 is minus 9x, which is the middle term. And then of course negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20. And this is the easiest way to check when you're factoring, is just fold it back out and see if you get what you started with. Okay, so my answer is x minus 4 times x minus 5. Let's take a look at another one. Okay, in these two examples I've already written out the factors that give me the last term. So in this first problem, here's everything I can multiply together to give me negative 16. Well, what will add together to give me positive 6? Well, we can see that's the negative 2 and positive 8, because negative 2 plus 8 gives me 6. So my solution, I put my two sets of parentheses, that's x and x, and I've got -2 plus 8. And you could also write x plus 8 times x minus 2. Alright, let's take a look at this one. X squared plus 7x minus 6. Well, here's everything I can multiply together to give me -6. But what can I add to give me positive 7? Well, -1 plus 6 is 5. -2 plus 3 is 1. 1 plus -6 is -5. And 2 plus -3 is -1. So nothing's giving me positive 7. So this one cannot be factored. So we'll say this is prime. That means it cannot be factored. Okay, let's take a look at these last two. So I'm going to put my two sets of parentheses. So I've got x and x, because that x times x gives me the x squared. Then I need what will multiply together to give me a minus 8y squared. Well, to get the y squared, I know I have to have a y and a y. Now I just need to figure out what numbers go in front of the y's. Well, to get -8, that's going to be -1 times 8 and -2 times 4. And I also have 1 times -8 and 2 times -4. So what is going to add together to give me positive 2? Well, we can see that's -2 and 4, because -2 plus 4 is equal to positive 2. So my answer is going to be minus 2y plus 4y. And I can see if I check it, x times x is x squared, and then I multiply the outside, that's going to be 4xy. The inside is minus 2xy, and when I add them together I get 2xy. And then if I multiply the last, I get -8y squared. Let's take a look at this last problem. Notice I have a common factor of x is my greatest common factor. And remember, when we're factoring, we always want to see, can we factor out the greatest common factor? So let's start out by factoring an x out. So I get x times x squared minus 6x minus 16. And then what can I multiply together to give me -16? Well, that's -1 times 16, -2 times 8, and -4 times 4. And then also 1 times -16, 2 times -8, and then 4 times -4, which that's just the same as -4 times 4. So which two add to give me -6, the -6 here? Well, that's going to be the 2 and -8, because 2 plus -8 is -6. So I have x times, and then I need to put my two sets of parentheses, and I've got x and x, because x times x is x squared. And then I'm going to use plus 2 and minus 8. plus 2 and minus 8. And there's my final answer. Well, I hope this video helped. I hope you'll watch the rest of them on factoring. Thanks.